Hi, I'm Todd from Blue Solar and Wind. We're going to go through a basic installation today just to give you an idea as to how easy and relatively quick it is to make your own installation at your home. The first step is to mark the roof where the truss material meets it underneath. In this particular roof configuration, it's every 2 feet. Therefore, we're going to mark the roof every 4 feet in order to install our quick mounts. So once we've located our trusses and we've marked them with our chalk pencil, we simply need to determine the distance from the last center line of the last truss to the edge of the roof. And in our case, measuring it here, it is approximately 24 inches. We'll simply mark the top at 24 inches as well. So now that we've properly marked our roof, we're going to use a chalk line to simply mark the roof throughout our installation area where the truss should be. So once again, now that we have our markings at 24 inches, we simply make a chalk line throughout the installation area so we know where the truss should be underneath. And thereafter we need to repeat the chalk line process for each 48-inch increment on this roof. Your roof may vary. All necessary quick mounts are included with the installation package you receive. We simply locate the quick mount on the roof and slide the quick mount up under the adjacent shingle as far as practicable, leaving the lug over our chalk line. So at this point then we install the parallel quick mount, also centering the lug along the chalk line and inserting the quick mount underneath the adjacent shingle, ensuring that it is far enough underneath to prevent water from entering underneath the quick mount itself. Okay, having made the initial installation of the quick mount, we measure from the edge of the roof to the center line of the lug of the quick mount, which is approximately 27 inches in this installation. Yours may vary. Having determined that dimension, we then install each quick mount throughout the installation area at that distance from the edge of the roof. Having located our bottom quick mount, we then locate the top quick mount at a distance approximately 4 feet from the bottom. However, that distance may vary and is determined by the location of the upper quick mount where it properly is inserted underneath the shingle. Having located our quick mounts and utilizing a piece of tape on the asphalt, we then drill a 7/32 pilot hole to locate our mounting bolts. Having made our marking on the tape, we then use the 7/32 drill bit to drill our pilot hole. The pre-drilled hole in the roof, we're going to drive our mounting stud through the hole, through the roofing material, and into the truss material underneath. Notice the mounting stud comes with a nut, a washer, and a gasket. Having installed those on the mounting stud, we simply take the lag end of it, insert it into the quick mount lug, and ratchet it down through the roofing material securely into the truss material underneath. Having secured the studs in the quick mounts along the first chalk line, we then repeated that process throughout the length of the installation area. As long as the mounting studs are in a straight line lengthwise, we can accommodate any variations in width with the adjustments in the mounting brackets. This is how your rails will be delivered. So the next step is simply to remove the rails and assorted equipment from the box, lay them out, and assemble them in a lengthwise fashion. So here you can see we have aligned the rails on the ground, and this rail happens to be the wired rail. We have these splices here. We simply center the splice at the edge of in the center of the seam. We drive self-drilling and tapping metal screws, which are provided through the already drilled holes in the splice, through the splice into the rail itself. So here is the self-tapping, self-drilling screws that are provided with the unit. Now we will take it, put it into the chuck, the bit, and simply drill through the rail, attaching the splice. That will be repeated 4 times. The same process and procedure will take place here. We make sure the rails are butted tightly together, center this with the seam, with the rail seam, and attach the splice into the rail itself. And so here we have the rail attached with the splices, so it's one solid piece. And once that's done, you can then go and check all of the clips to make sure that they're all secured properly and haven't come loose in transit, such as this one here. And where there has been a clip that's come loose, we can simply reattach it to the rail as such. And here we have the end of the wired rail. This is an on and off switch which cuts the power from your solar panels to your house. We also have an inlet for the power cable from your solar panels and an inlet for the ground, which we will address later. We also have a J-box that's included with 30 feet of cable to run down and connect to your AC panel on the side of the house. On the opposite end of the wired rail, there are connectors that come with the kit so that the system can be expanded for an additional 500 watts if desired. We're about to mount the rails to the roof, but before we do so, it's necessary to put a rubber grommet on each mounting stud that we've previously installed with the Quick Connects. It simply slides down on the stud, push it down with your fingers or a dull instrument, and seat it properly for the installation of the rails. That'll be repeated on each quick mount. With the rail is fully assembled, it is ready for installation on the roof. Okay, this is an example of the flexibility of the L brackets. You simply lift the rail slightly, slide the L bracket up and over the mounting stud, and seat it down ready for attachment. With the rail properly in place, we're going to install a washer, commonly known as a fender washer, a lock washer, and a nut. I simply slide over the mounting studs, thread the nut down, and drive it on with a ratchet. And that will be repeated
for each mounting stud along the length of the rail.
The cable at the end of the wired rail that is provided for expansion should not be left laying on the surface of the roof. So if you're not using that extra cable that's provided for expansion of the system, it needs to be attached firmly to the rail up off of the roof surface.
We have the other rail. We simply need to splice it together in the same manner as the wired rail that's been installed on the roof and install it along its own line of mounting studs. The lower rail is assembled. We will install it on the roof the same as the upper rail. Again, if there's any misalignment, the L brackets are adjustable. They can be moved into the proper position for a better fit. This is an example of the rails installed and the 30-foot cable connection. This can be located on either side of the roof or on the top or the bottom rail, whatever best fits your application. We just finished drilling a hole through the eave of the home. This hole is going to permit the 30-foot of cable that's provided with the unit to go through the roof and down to be located and attached to the AC panel on the side of the home. Using the included flashing, we will install it up under the shingle over the hole. We will take the J-box and the down conduit and the cable and feed it through the flashing down below towards the electrical connection. And this is how a typical installation looks with the wires fed down through the eave and the conduit to the panel below. So now it's time to install the inverter. There's one for each panel, and there's also a nut and a bolt installed in the rail ready to go. We simply slide the flange, mounting flange of the inverter underneath, making certain that the cable is easily attachable to the wire cable on the rail, and then we subsequently ratchet the inverter and tighten the inverter up. Making sure, after that's done, that the cable does in fact reach the connector. And that'll be repeated for each connector on the power cable along the wired rail. So we've connected all of the inverters and located them close to the connectors, tightening them securely to the wired rail. Now that we have the inverters installed, we need to ground the rail, the inverter itself, and the panels. The inverters have a grounding clip installed on them for the attachment of the grounding wire, and the rails come with grounding lugs. You need to run the wire along the length of the rail, attaching it to each inverter and each rail grounding lug, as well as the solar panel. In order to ground each panel, there's a grounding plug that comes with the unit and a self-tapping screw, and we simply drive the screw in, attaching the grounding lug to each panel and then subsequently the wire to the grounding lug. The grounding wire that's firmly attached to the rail, the panels, and each inverter will then be run along the rail, and it will be inserted into this inlet and attached to the ground wire, which is in the 30 foot of cable supplied with the unit. Now it's time to install the panels using these hold downs. These would be between the panels, and this one would go at the end, each end. Now it's time to install the panels. What you want to do is make sure that the cables are installed on the inverter side and close to the inverter for connection. And here we have the cable connectors from the panel to the inverter. Notice that we've got a male and a female connector on the panel as well as the inverter. That prevents us from making any error in connection. And you simply insert the connectors in the appropriate mating connector on the inverter and panel. Now we're going to install the end clamp, which is specially designed to slide into the rail and grasp the rail firmly. Simply slide it into the rail, twist it, and slide the clamp up to the pre-marked line on the rail. All the rails throughout the length of the rail are pre-marked for you. So we slide the clamp up, tighten down the nut, and then simply ratchet the nut down, securing the clamp firmly but not over tightening. Having properly secured the end clamps, we're now going to continue and install the adjacent panel. In order to ensure proper alignment of the panels, we need to take a measurement from one of the rails to the bottom of the panel. In this case, it's approximately 8 inches. We then move to the other side of the panel, take a similar measurement on the other side, and just ensure that from the distance to the rail, from the distance from the rail to the edge of the panel is approximately the same. In this case, it's 8 inches. So the panel's properly oriented. Notice the angle on the bottom of the center clamp. It's specially designed to slide down into the groove on the top of the rail and grasp the rail underneath firmly. Having identified our line that's pre-marked on the rail for you, we can then install the center clamp, simply sliding it into the rail, twisting it, and sliding this over the panels on each side of the clamp itself and tightening it down. Now that we've aligned the subsequent panel and located our clamp, we just simply need to ratchet the clamp snugly without over tightening. Here we're working on the bottom rail, tightening up the mid clamp, ensuring that the panels are properly aligned. And as we did with the top, we simply tighten down the bottom clamp, ratchet it down, tightening it snugly but not over tightening. That will be repeated throughout the installation area with each subsequent panel. We're all finished with our installation of the panels. A couple of pointers here, reminders. The clips need to be tightened firmly, but not over tightened. You need to take care of not collapsing the frame of the photovoltaic panel. Also, I want to point out that these panels are shipped and will arrive to you covered with heavy bond paper. This serves two purposes. It's additional protection for the surface of the panel, and it also prevents the panel from generating any energy during installation and handling. Now with the installation almost complete, I want to point out that it comes with a safety feature, the AC disconnect. Also, this represents the overhanging eave where we went down from the J-box with the conduit coming through the roof down below with the 30 feet of provided cable. The cable will be running this conduit, which is something that you can pick up at your local hardware store. Inside the AC disconnect, this unit comes labeled to match and color code each wire that's coming through the conduit into the AC disconnect. Safety feature: red, black, white, and green. The green attaching to the grounding bus bar below here. And you simply insert the wire and tighten the screw firmly and reinstall the cover. Well, that's it for you. From this point forward, we recommend that you get a licensed electrician to connect from the AC disconnect safety feature that's provided to your main panel for your home. This is a gateway unit also provided. It can be wall mounted, or it can sit on a table. This unit will give you real-time information as to the performance and production of your power supply. Additionally, this can be connected to a modem, and you can access the system via internet from anywhere.